Hi, welcome back to my build of a Piper Cherokee, a kit I got from DB Sport Scale in the UK. Today, really exciting, I'm going to start the covering. I've got two different colours. I've got a pearl blue and a white. This is Teflon from the World Models in Hong Kong. I've heard some good things about it. I've never used it before, so we'll see how that goes, and I will leave a little bit of a review at the end of this video of what I thought of it. If you have a look in the description below the video, I'll provide a link to this covering if you're interested, and the information about it. I'm going to be using a Prolux digital iron. I found this lovely, being able to just control it quite finely. Got a sock on it. I've also got a spare sock. I find that after a bit you start to pick up little bits of glue on the sock. I have washed this since I used it last, but it's quite frustrating if that happens halfway through covering, so I can always change the sock halfway through now if need be. Also a scalpel with a fresh blade and a whole load of scalpel blades. It's surprising how blunt they become. So the actual colours themselves and where I'm going to be starting. I'm going to be starting on the tail fin and the tail plane first, and then these are going to be white, and the top of the turtle deck is going to be white, and that will then translate into the or continue into the canopy, which is going to be painted white. Then this bottom half here is going to be the pearlescent blue, and the underside will be pearlescent blue as well. I will probably start by doing the turtle deck, because then that will allow me to trim a nice straight edge. I can then get a piece of the film with a nice straight edge and run it along here, so I get a nice finish without having to cut it, nice straight edge right through, and then that will lap down, and I will have probably done the underside by that point, and it will just lap under, and I'll have a seam along the bottom. This piece over the nose will just be a separate piece. It may change as we go along, I'll see, but that's kind of the plan at the start. It's probably going to take me most of the morning, if not most of the day, so it'll be really good after weeks and weeks of work to see this start to look like the finished thing now. So anyway, I better get on. Okay, well, I've got the fuselage now more or less finished. I spent the whole day yesterday, it took me about 7 hours, and finished off this morning with a few little bits. I'm really pleased with the way it's turned out. The control surfaces aren't actually fixed in yet. I've just put a little bit of magic tape just to hold them in place, see how the colour scheme looked, and I'm quite pleased with that. I was debating whether to put another pinstripe here, but it might be a little bit too much. And I've done the front of the pod for the access to the battery. I'm going to paint this black here because that will be part of the dashboard. Still got this to trim to size, but essentially that's fitting on there like I'll have shown in the past. As far as this material, Teflon, yes, it's very tough, it's quite thick. I'm quite impressed with it, really. It goes on lovely. Beautiful finish, and interestingly, seams don't seem to show up that well. It's the stated temperatures in the guidance seem about spot on, which is good. It tacks nicely, as I showed you earlier, at about 80, I think it's about 86 degrees, something like that. Oh no, sorry, 100 degrees I tacked it on. But when you bump the temperature up a little bit just to shrink it tight, boy does this stuff stick. It really does, and you can get it off, but it leaves kind of a bit of a sticky residue, and Actually, that didn't come off too bad there, but I have had to remove the odd piece, and God, it didn't half stick. So, you know, I think this is great. The only thing I would say is that because it's thicker, it's not perhaps as good, particularly back here on the edges of the control surfaces. I'm really pleased with the finish, but I could have perhaps done that a little bit better. But that's kind of down to my skills, or lack of them, if you like. But yeah, this is really good stuff. I think if I was doing a solid model like this, you know, where it's been sheeted all the way, I would have probably been better off excuse me, with a thinner, the thinner version, which is latex, and this is the Teflon. But you know, it's a lovely job. I'm really pleased with it. So what have I got else to do now? I think this is probably it now for this, and then I'm going to start and cover the wings, and that in itself will have a few challenges as well. So yeah, I can highly recommend this. It comes in 2 metre and 5 metre lengths, and it's 800mm wide. It's supplied by the World Models in Hong Kong, and I think this was about $9 US for 2 metres, which, yeah, is pretty good, So right, well, I'll get on and start to think about the wings now and how I'm going to do that. Okay, well, today I'm going to be covering the wings. It's quite exciting. It's kind of the final bit, if you like, of the build, or near the final stages of the build. Again, I'm going to be using the Teflon, the white and the pearl blue, which I used on the fuselage. I'm going to be putting white on the top surface and doing blue on the underside. I quite like contrasting wings. At least you can tell which way up the plane is when you're flying it. It should be fairly straightforward, fingers crossed. There's no detailing on the ends, it's just a straightforward covering. And if you remember from previous videos, I've got these plastic moulded wing tips which go on the end here. The only difficult bit is going to be this flare here and the angle just around there. I've kind of decided that I'm not going to be able to stretch that around and get a decent joint. So what I'm going to do, I think, is I'll probably put on the white underneath, bring it round just shy of this leading edge, and then I will work out where, so that the blue coming round just from the underside, just coming round to the shy of this leading edge, and then as the blue is going to come round to probably about 1 centimetre under the leading edge, I need to put in just a little triangular piece of blue there, and I'm going to cut the covering and do a kind of a fold like that. And I think by doing it that way, it'll be a lot neater than trying to stretch it around. And so, as I said, if I put a small triangular piece in first, it'll just fill in the gap here, and I won't have to put anything over the top. So we'll see how that goes. The last thing I want to do is do that and then realise I've got to patch it over the top. It'll just look a mess, and it's something to come loose when I'm flying. So I'll get on and do that this morning. Okay, well, I've now finished the underside of the wings, and I'm really pleased with how it's gone on. It wasn't too difficult. Seemed to go nicely around these flares here, and also around the inlets for the aileron bays. So I'm really pleased with that. I think, you know, it's taken me 3 hours. You know, the one thing about this is it can't be rushed. It's a slow process, particularly the shrinking, to make sure that it goes on and shrinks evenly. But yeah, I'm really pleased with that. I've also done the central section, put the the white on, that's going to then flow into the main wings, which I'll do in a bit. Of course you won't see this because this is bolted on the underside of the fuselage. One thing I would say, which was really useful, is I reacquainted myself with the location of the aileron hinge slots, the mylar. I couldn't see these at all when I first looked for them because of all the sanding. They'd filled up with dust and that, so it was really useful just to go and find those again, put the knife in them and just make sure I know where they are. I've still got covers to make for the aileron servos, but I probably won't get around to that today, and hopefully I'll get the ailerons covered as well. But I'm going to take a break now, have a spot of lunch, and then I'll come back and do these top surfaces. So it'd be nice to see how that takes shape. Okay, well now I've completed the upper surface in the white, and that's gone okay. A little bit, a few issues on these corners here. They're a little bit more difficult than I anticipated, but they've gone okay. The first piece I tried to put on, I completely messed up. I thought it would be a good idea to start with this edge here, and then I wouldn't have to trim it. But by the time I'd got around here, there were so many wrinkles and it was just going horrible. So in actual fact, I started on this area here, got this all nice, and then pulled this nice and taut around the flare. And then had to trim this by hand, so it's a little bit wavy, but it's on the underside, so I don't mind too much. But yeah, that seems to have gone okay. I've redone the slots for the mylar hinges, and now I've got the ailerons, which I don't know whether I'm going to cover those today. I might cover those tomorrow. But yeah, it seems to have gone well. I'm pleased with that, and be nice to get the ailerons finished and start to get the servos in.